had Ida Claire with us today. So we'll ask Ida Claire to come up and talk to us a little bit about all the great work that's happening in the Division of State Architects. So Ida, good morning.
Good morning, Alan. How are you?
Great, great. Thank you for being here with us today. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I'm going to share my screen, and this always gives me difficulty, so bear with me. We're going to go with that. Let's see how that works. All right. Hopefully we're seeing something that moves. Welcome, everyone. I'm here to provide you the DSA update for June. Is my slides advancing? Yes?
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not seeing your slides, so.
Okay. See? There's always that issue. You would think that I would figure that out. Let me share a different screen, see if that works. Hold on.
There we go.
All right. Which screen? No, hold on. Now that I think I've got it. Hold on. Sorry about that. I'm not the most technically. You know what? I'll do this. All right. Is it advancing?
No, we're not seeing it again. Yeah, we saw it for a moment and then it clicked off.
All right. I am going to get this fixed momentarily. I apologize for this. Hold on. I know what I need to do now. Okay. Share. And then from beginning. All right.
There we go. Now we're there.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. And you're seeing only one slide on the screen, right? You're not seeing my presentation view? Okay.
Yes, we're seeing just one slide. It looks perfect.
Good. Now we can advance. Okay, so as I've stated, we've been busy, but this is a good snapshot of our fiscal year since our fiscal year ends in June. You can see that to date, we have about 4,116 projects submitted to DSA or plan to be submitted by the end of this month, but considering we're on the 28th, this number is probably pretty close. So based on percentage of projects this year, San Diego seems to be the busiest, with Sacramento being second in line. But of course, that fluctuates month after month. And obviously, the dollar value also has considerable weight on this as to how busy we are. Estimated project cost to date this year, we've processed about $11.2 billion in construction, which is quite significant. It's on the higher end of average normally for us. We've had years in the past that have been even larger, but normally we're around 10 billion. So this is, pretty good indicators. Again, this is a pretty good snapshot of our fiscal year. And again, San Diego obviously weighing in on the greatest dollar value, and Sacramento second, with Los Angeles a close third. Our submittal appointments for this month were at about 512 million. This month, the busiest number of projects, or the busiest office with the most number of projects, is Los Angeles, and they're also the one with San Diego actually is the one with the greater cost value for projects submitted. In July, which starts the next of our fiscal year, it's a little light, about $293 million worth of construction submittals. However, plan review submittals, sorry about that. But this obviously, while we have it filled out for the month, I think we're still booking probably for 4 weeks from now, or we'll see some change in there. Usually we're a little slower in the summer because the summer rush of projects has already come in. So our work does ebb and flow, especially when there's a code change. There's a height at the end of the year, and that occurs, of course, every 3 years, and then a little bit of a slowdown. Then it ramps up again annually for summer. and then starts to slow down again in July. So that this total is kind of reflecting that. But we still remain busy. Okay, again, always a reminder on post-secondary education student housing, just to meet with us to be sure in advance that, project submission that you've got requirements covered. There are federal requirements that we need to address in our housing. It's not optional. They're not DSA specific requirements. They are federal requirements. And it's very important that community colleges especially also address this, since they typically don't have a housing program to rely on, a past housing program. But if you are submitting student housing, be sure to reach out to us in advance so you can ensure that, especially for the access compliance version, that you're going to get good results early and not need any kind of design change. Well, we're a little we're bracing ourselves, obviously, for this first big heat wave that's coming in, and there's still a lot of snow in the Sierra. Just a reminder that while I hope all the schools are safe, in case there's any issues with flooding or whatever, to contact DSA, your local regional office, if there is no declared emergency. Of course, that changes when there's a declared emergency. You'll need to work with the local enforcement entity who works with county offices of education, and sends information up the chain to DSA for mission tasks, so that DSA safety assessment professional can be dispatched to your schools. So just a heads up, we will hope for the best, and it's always a good reminder to the process so that we can assist you as quickly as possible if we need to. Electronic back check. We launched this in May and it's going pretty well. I think the procedures that we have internally to ensure that projects are closed out, and the expectations we've set with the design team, I think have provided for a pretty stable launch of our electronic back check 2.0. Most of this, as I stated, really relies on the design professional in providing thorough written response so that they don't have to come in to a phase 2 and close out the project. So if there's any questions regarding this, you can always reach out to your regional manager and they will assist you with this. All right. Just a little bit, about, we're still seeing projects regarding solar panels, battery storage. We're checking for general compliance, that it's in there. If a battery is included, obviously, then it's a full review for fire and life safety. And we have additional resources for solar, PV, and batteries in our IRs. And we're also working with the California Energy Commission for those of you that have campus-wide solar systems that you want to tap into to meet this compliance, and what will need to be provided to DSA in order to ensure that compliance with the energy code is met. And there's our IR for battery storage requirements. So these are documents that are guiding this process. We encourage you to check these out because there's a lot of good information that are in these IRs. We are about to wrap up our 2022 intervening code cycle. All gender multi-user restroom facilities is advancing, and the commission adoption meeting is August 1st through 3rd. Again, if these regulations are passed, they will be effective July 1st, 2024. Again, this is not a requirement, but an option that if you're providing all gender multi-user restrooms, presently the plumbing code doesn't allow it. It requires an alternate means. We are actually adding a regulation that will permit it so that we don't have to go through any kind of extensive process. This is happening statewide, not just for schools. But of course, DSA's rulemaking is advancing it just for schools. Access compliance is tomorrow. Our commission adoption meeting is tomorrow. There are requirements in the commission, in our proposal package for accessibility to multi-user all gender restrooms. That's probably one of the largest part of the package. And then, of course, just a reminder that we are advancing the fulfillment of our statutory mandate in the Health and Safety Code to provide for adult changing facilities and facilities that are being modernized that have a minimum occupancy of 2,500 or more. That applies to amusement facilities. So it could apply to performing arts centers on campuses if they meet the minimum occupancy of 2,500 or more. Additionally to sports fields, like football facilities and such. So if there are modernizations occurring to that, I think the threshold is about $10,000 to a restroom, then it triggers an adult changing facility. So just so you're aware of that. And that was a fulfillment of statute that occurred, I think it was about 5 years ago. Again, our adoption meeting is tomorrow. Cal Green, our adoption meeting is August 1st through 3rd. Requirements for electric vehicle charging station alternate compliance, which provides the power alternative, carbon reduction for very, very large buildings, and also CO2 monitors in classrooms when a building is altered. And there's a link there that you can read the requirements or the regulations as they are written, and the information as to how you can participate in the adoption meeting on August 1st through 3rd. Structural safety, our commission adoption meeting was yesterday. While we didn't have any significant issues of concern, really mostly just clarity items, all proposals were adopted. Any California Administrative Code regulations will be effective next month, probably August 1st, because it's 30 days after adoption. And then, of course, the building code provisions would be in effect July 1st, 2024, and consistent with all other building code provisions that we're advancing in this code cycle. But the administrative code regulations will be in effect likely August 1st. Now that our rulemaking's over, we will be resuming our existing buildings task force. Diane's staff is working on a white paper to explore some of the options that we discussed when we put the EB task force on a hiatus earlier this year. And so they're working on that and bringing kind of, the intent is to work on those white papers and bring some results for discussion in the fall. And just a reminder that our quarterly Sustainable School Showcase is on our website. There's two parts. Part one was about the Kinesiology Health Education Aquatics Complex at Crafton Hills College. And part two is all about San Bernardino Community College's sustainability plan. So this quarterly features in two parts. And with that, I am done if there's any questions.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It does look like there's at least one question that came into questions. I'll remind participants to please put your questions into the chat so that everyone can see that. But a question from Owen Chung is, are there any discussions or considerations to extend the approval date for PC structures that were approved under the 2019 CBC beyond the June 30th deadline?
Yeah, so we have been discussing that. And so we have decided not to extend the date. However, there are two ways that your project can still advance. One of them is that the PC manufacturer themselves can can submit this week. So likely today or tomorrow, well, yeah, today or tomorrow, no, by Friday, a stockpile application which requires payment. So if they can submit a stockpile application with payment, they can build any project in that stockpile request for up to 4 years. So that's one way where they can get ahead and of this deadline. The second is that any project that they have that they're working with the school can advance the project with the architect, submit the project for review, even over the counter review. There will be an outstanding back check comment, and that outstanding back check comment will be that the 2019 PC needs to be replaced with a 2022 PC. But that allows schools to advance with their planning while the PC manufacturers can continue with, the approval process. So there are two ways where you can still use the 2019 PC. One is manufacturer-led in creating a stockpile application, and the other is with the school district. They can advance it for their site using a 2019 PC. However, they will not get approval until that's switched out with an approved 2022 PC.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Well, thank you. I don't see any other questions coming into the chat. So I want to thank you. Thank you for the work. Thank you for the great support and partnership from DSA to the work that we're trying to do. So, and thank you for being here today to talk to us.
Great. Thanks, Alan. Have a good holiday.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to move on to OPSC, and I see Michael Watanabe is here with us to talk to us about all the great work that's happening in OPSC.
Yeah, good morning. Just short updates today. Our June meeting, as you know, is tonight at 4 p.m. It will be via Zoom. Tonight we got 62 projects for 225 million going out the door for direct apportionments. There will be a closed session at the end of the meeting. The chair will convene the board in that closed session. I think without giving out too much information, we expect an announcement to come out of closed session that you guys will want to pay attention to. So it would be, you might want to stick around in the open meeting while the board meets so that when the chair reports out, you get that information, but more to come on that one. Many of you heard, I think she was here last month to let you know, but tomorrow is Barbara Kampminer's last meeting as Deputy Executive Officer as he transitions to private. But her last physical day at OPSC will be June 30th. It's in the EO statement, I believe. The July meeting is canceled. The board will not be meeting in July. The next meeting will be in August on the 23rd at 4 p.m. At the moment, it will be in person at the California Department of Education downstairs in their boardroom. So again, that's 4 p.m. on Wednesday, August 23rd at CDE over there on 15th and N Street. We do intend to webcast that one as usual and have the Zoom interface as well so that you can participate remotely and provide public comment that way as well. So we expect all that to be normal hybrid environment, but the board members will meet in person for that one. The only other two reminders I have is for our full day kindergarten program. We are still actively processing those applications. Our financial hardship team has been sending out letters nonstop. So we just encourage you to be responsive to those financial hardship letters because that does impact the preference points and our rankings and the order that we fund the projects. So as every project falls out, we do need to reshuffle the list slightly and projects move around. So if you could be responsive to that, because we are still targeting the September board meeting for getting that apportionments out for, I think, a little over 300 million in the FDK that's remaining. Lastly, at the beginning of June, around the first week of June, we sent out our unused site letters, reminding school districts of the annual reporting requirement that you have unused sites in the district. Now is your time to resubmit the certifications for what you have currently as unused sites and to request any waivers that you may qualify for. Those are due back to OPSC on August 31st or by August 31st, so we can present the annual item at the end of the year. We are working on programming an OPSC online for the unused sites program. We expect next year to be able to roll over all this data into OPSC online so that in future years, all your submittals will be stored, all your historical information will be stored and viewable by everyone. And you can do your certification online. So we hope that roll that out next year. So look out for that one. But that's all I had for this week or this month, if anybody has any questions.
Great. Let's see. There was a question that came in, says, will the TK full day kindergarten applications that don't have hardship points be funded in September?
Yeah, I don't have the percentage points that we're going down to from a priority standpoint, but yes, it looks like about half the projects that'll be funded in September will not get financial hardship preference points. So we are going down the free and reduced price lunch percentages. I believe the last I saw, we're getting as low as at least 40%. So we are getting lower numbers, and that'll continue. We expect a few more financial hardship to fall out, so that number will continue to change. But yeah, about half the project, I believe, at the moment we're looking at not having financial hardship priority points.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions for Michael? The group. If not, so Michael, thank you, and thank you for the hard work. And I know Barbara's not here, but I want to wish her great luck as she moves forward with her career. And all the great work and collaboration that she's done. Yeah, I see Rebecca throwing that out there as well. It's been a wonderful relationship with Barbara, and we wish her nothing but the best of luck as she moves forward. And we also look forward to see who the new replacement will be, and as we move forward. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I'll pass it along.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move forward with our agenda. And I think we're going to be calling in Nancy Charas Espinoza to talk to us a little bit about legislative regulatory updates, what's happening in our regulatory world.
Hi, Alan. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you. The most exciting thing to happen in the legislature this week was the approval of the state budget. And so over the weekend, they started publishing some of the bills, including AB 114, which is the Education Omnibus Bill, which contains the things I'm going to talk about. So that was very exciting. There were some hearings that were scheduled on Monday, which didn't happen when they were supposed to happen, and then they happened later in the day and late in the evening. The governor and legislative leaders finally came to a full budget agreement. And yesterday, AB 114 was approved by the legislature. There are more votes on the package of bills that constitute that agreement that are scheduled for tomorrow, and all of that will eventually make its way to the governor's desk, where we anticipate he will sign it. So what is in the budget for us? Let me start off with the school facilities program. We were pleased, frankly, very grateful to see that in the fiscal climate we're in, the legislature and the governor maintained, for the most part, their commitment to continue to use general funds for the school facilities program. If you can recall, they originally made a multi-year commitment of $4.2 billion. This year, they reduced their intended amount by $100 million, which is not that significant in the grand scheme of things. So ultimately, they are appropriating $1.96 billion from the general fund to the state allocation board for the school facilities program. There is still intent language in the budget for an additional $875 million for the SFP next year. So we hope that will materialize. Heck, we hope it will be more. We will certainly advocate for more. But in the current fiscal climate, we are really grateful to legislative leaders and the governor for maintaining that commitment. Kitchen infrastructure funds is another area we're watching. There were some kind of minor changes about allowable uses. The Department of Education has appropriated $585 million of the $600 million that was intended for kitchen infrastructure and training. And the reason for that is that they held back $15 million in anticipation of a budget request to use some of that money for the replacement of commercial dishwashers. That commercial dishwasher piece was not part of the final agreement, so we do anticipate that $15 million will revert to the kitchen infrastructure training fund. Arts, music, and instructional materials discretionary block grant, which is a mouthful. So for our purposes, we focus on the fact that it is in fact discretionary. I know many of you have been using this as a resource for some facilities needs, maybe some modernization, maybe some shade structures, things of that nature. 200 million of that is going to be clawed back per the budget. What the mechanism is going to be, how they claw back funds that were awarded in last year's budget that many of you have already spent or you already have plans for, is not spelled out in the budget bill. We've heard some rumors that it will be done in the principal apportionment. We don't know yet, so we're just awaiting further details on how that's going to be done. And yes, that is very problematic. And we were advocating all year long that, doing something like that retroactively was incredibly problematic. But that is not an area where we prevailed. Let's see. Last thing I want to talk about is the ZEV, so Zero Emission Vehicle School Bus and Charging Infrastructure Program. It's actually two twin programs that work together. If you will remember, the budget last year awarded funds to the California Air Resources Board to help school districts replace their diesel buses with either electric or some other lower carbon fuel bus. And then they gave a portion of funding to the California Energy Commission to provide for the charging infrastructure or fueling infrastructure for those vehicles. So they work in tandem. So this is an area where we actually saw a win. The both of those appropriations were increased pretty significantly. The amount that the CARB was going to get was meant to be 225 million. That was increased to 375 million. And the California Energy Commission was supposed to get 75 million, and they upped that to 125. So we really appreciate that. You know, these mandates continue to roll down, and we are very vocal in talking about the need for the state to actually provide the resources for us to be able to do this without cutting into the classroom. So we are very appreciative of that. With that, Ellen, I am going to toss it to my colleague Rebecca to finish out the budget portion.
Thank you, Nancy. Hi, everybody. A couple of additional budget items and then a quick note on a bill that we've been working on. So for our preschool, transitional kindergarten, full day kindergarten facilities grant program, a little bit more mixed news there, right? We did see that the final budget, and this was included in SB 114, which the legislature passed yesterday, did delay the promised $550 million that we were expecting in 23-24 by 1 year. So that is still committed to us, but we expect to receive it now in 24-25. A little bit out of alignment with the operational side of things, the budget maintains the commitment to full implementation of universal transitional kindergarten by 25-26 and provides operational dollars to do so, but we're seeing a mismatch with the lack of facilities funding to help support that need. For those of you who are working in this space, we are also seeing that the ratios of adult to students are staying at 1-12, and they're going to stay there until 25-26 when the ratio goes to 1-10, and that's only if there is funding available for that purpose. Couple of other quick things in budget related to school facilities. One, there's an update to our Williams inspections, and that is an update to the list of schools that are identified for those inspections. The current metrics that are in place would have tripled the number of schools that would need to be inspected, but we would not have received additional funds to do so. And these are the county office inspections. And SB 114 extends the use of the current list of schools for another 2 years through 24-25. So that will help ensure that we don't have a big jump in the number of schools that are inspected under Williams. And then there's one additional piece in SB 114. It is deleting the audit guide requirements that require you to report on the use of savings for your financial hardship projects, CTE projects, and charter school facility program projects. So that's in alignment with the recent actions we've seen at the State Allocation Board to align with the outcome of a recent court case where our financial hardship projects are now able to keep savings and use it for other high priority capital outlay purposes, just like non-financial hardship projects. So it's good to see that parity reflected in the statutory details. Moving away from budget for a moment, one quick note on a bill. So we, CASH, have been working in partnership with the the nonprofit Housing Association of Northern California, NPH, on a really important issue that I've spoken to you about over the last few months, and that's related to ballot label reform and correcting some of the difficulties that were created for schools and other local agencies to pass local bonds. And this is related to the language that you see on your ballot label, the 75-word statement that voters see on their actual ballot. SB 532 was looking to create an alternative path for our local school bonds, and it would have pointed voters to their voter guide for more enhanced information about the potential costs of a local school bond.
There were amendments that we had to take to continue to move the bill through the legislative process and the Senate Elections Committee that would have removed that alternative path and instead modified that 75-word ballot label statement and the fiscal provisions. Upon further review with CASH members who are experts in this field, we came to understand that SB 532 could have actually been more of a hindrance. It could have made the problem worse rather than improving the situation. And so we made the difficult decision with Senator Wiener and our co-sponsors to let that bill go. And it is now, if you pull it up today, it has nothing to do with local ballot labels. And it is now related to a Bay Area bridge toll tax. So CASH is no longer engaged on that. You may see some news in the press about SB 532. It's the new 532. It's not the old CASH-sponsored 532. We will continue to look for opportunities to make progress on this incredibly important issue. We know that a number of you are looking at doing local bonds in 2024, and this was a very timely bill to try and address a big problem that makes it more difficult for schools to work in partnership with their local communities in order to meet critical facilities needs like our TK classrooms and the other work that we need to do. So stay tuned. I'll let you know if there are other opportunities that emerge. And we very much enjoyed working in partnership with housing agencies, transit organizations, and other local agencies and schools to try and move the needle on this important issue. And Alan, I see you popping up.
No, I was just coming up to thank you for the great work that you're doing and really representing the needs of our association and schools and school district providers all around the state. So thank you for that. I don't see any questions popping up. So if you have any questions for Rebecca or the staff, please let us know in the chat so we can get those questions answered. But thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate all that hard work. So we're going to move on in our agenda, and I think we're going to call Nancy back up, Nancy Charas Espinoza, to talk to us a little bit about the School Energy Coalition and the work that's being done there for energy.
Thank you, Alan. So I already talked about the zero emission vehicle infrastructure piece, which is also critical to the School Energy Coalition, and they've been very involved in that. We continue to be involved at the CEC with the pending decision on NEMA net energy metering aggregated, which is a program for owners with multiple meters, which is schools and ag, basically. So this is a very important program for us that, as of now, is the last venue, the last way that we can kind of keep the pre-NEM 3.0 rates that we had. So we're fighting to keep that. We're fighting to educate decision makers about why we have to have multiple meters, that it's not, gaming the system with, neighbors and people who are unrelated. So a lot of work has been going on there, both individually and in coalition. So stay tuned on that. We are in the 90-day window for the Energy Commission to issue its decision. So it could be any day. With respect to AB 247, the bond vehicle that we support, we are also very much involved in discussions about refining or improving the climate provisions of that bill. So nothing to report on that, but just wanted you to know that the work is ongoing and the discussions are taking place. And the last thing I'll mention is that SEC members received some information about the CEC's energy benchmarking program, which is not new, but this is the first year they're pushing it out to schools. So anyone with buildings over 50,000 square feet now has to receive information on their energy usage from their energy provider and report that back to the CEC. And that may seem like a clunky way to do it, but their intent is actually that the building owners and operators review that information and look for opportunities to achieve more efficiency. So that's why it was built the way it was. That requirement and some letters mentioning financial penalties caught a lot of people off guard. The CEC was flooded with calls and they actually had to push back that deadline. So it looks like, at least at this point, that they are working with folks and really trying to provide technical support, and they're not as focused this first year at on compliance and penalties. So we do appreciate that on their part. And that is all that I have for SEC.
Great. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for the great work. I don't see any questions popping up. So if there's any questions about energy, the work that's happening in the energy field, please let us know in the chat. But with that, I think now we'll call Ian up to talk a little bit about the California for School Facilities, our federal wing that actually does a lot of work in Sacramento, or excuse me, in Washington, D.C. So Ian, are you with us today?
I am. Yep, I'm here. I didn't know I was doing the CS up, but I certainly can do that. Is Dave Walrath on? No? Okay. Well, as you know, CSF is very active. A lot of there's a lot of federal programs, both in terms of, forward-looking, the IRA, other ones with significant funding available. Also issues related to funding that has already been used, ESSER, those pieces, accounting when you have to be under contract, all those things that we've heard from you. So CSF continues to do this work, and it's, I would say, even more important work than typical. So following the bills, the funding, and trying to really get our arms around what programs, there's huge amounts of funding, which is great, but what applies to schools? What are the actual application mechanisms? So taking it from all those, the theoretical part down to the more specific, so schools and others can access it. So we are getting closer to that. There is a federal rulemaking happening on pieces of this that schools can use, some of the direct payment pieces, things like that. So we're basically getting a handle on where those are and being able to report that information out and working closely with Cash on that. So yeah. So that, yep.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I will say, I will kind of maybe add on to that the California for School Facilities has been an organization that we've been working at the federal level for many, I guess, decades to really work with our federal legislative leaders to ensure that schools are adequately addressed in some of the federal work that's happened. And we also know that this area is something that's been somewhat of a hotbed since the pandemic. It's been a lot of activity in this area. And I'll just maybe give a sneak peek to those that are here, is that Cash is really, and the Cash board is really looking closely at the California for School Facilities work that we're doing, and really trying to help support that and really put a lot more emphasis in this work at the federal level as we come to the completion of the ESSER dollars and the inflation recovery programs and the Build Back America program. So just look for more information coming out about how we're looking to help bolster the work that we do at the federal level as the Cash organization. So there'll be more information coming out, so look for that. But we really want to invest in this area to make sure that this is something that we support moving forward. So
thank you, Alan.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you, Ian, for all that great work. So now we'll call up our vice chair, Mr. Tom Pace, to talk to us a little bit about the 45th annual conference.
Good afternoon, everyone. And by way of introduction, my name is Thomas Pace. Day job is Director of Facilities for San Bernardino City Unified. And I have two daughters, and I'm going to give you a lesson that I learned from my two daughters recently about the annual conference. So my two daughters this summer are going to travel to Mexico to go see the press tour for the Barbie movie that's coming out with Ryan Gosling. And they will be going to Argentina to see Taylor Swift play. It'll be the third time that they see Taylor Swift this year. They are Swifties. We are a Swiftie household. And the lesson learned from my teenage daughters is that if you want to go see events that are popular, you have to have a lot of pre-planning. And you have to make the time and effort needed so that you're not on the outs of the Swift concert. And like our annual conference, it is in high demand. Or like the Barbie movie, it is in high demand. So I'm going to encourage you to start planning now. Start getting your rooms and time situated. Our annual conference this year is February 28th through March 1st in Sacramento. And we're excited that we can announce the dates of the 2025 annual conference, which is going to be February 24th through the 26th in Palm Springs. So giving you ample opportunity to get your tickets and get in line. And hopefully we'll see you at the Barbie movie press tour and the Swift concert this summer and the annual conference next February.
Great. Thank you, Tom. And I also want to take a little acknowledge to all the work that's happening with our various different educational strands at the conference. And that, you know, every year we one up ourselves in the opportunities to engage, the opportunities to learn. And so it'll be a fantastic conference. And I'm even more excited that living up to the commitment that we had spoken about a couple of years ago, that we're moving into a north-south rotation. And so look forward to being out in Palm Springs in February in 25 to really begin that north-south rotation process.
Couldn't agree more, Alan. I think that, you know, that as we move around and we see different parts of the state, it's a real opportunity for new interactions and to experience new things, and really looking forward to Palm Springs in 2025. But our focus right now is Sacramento and just enjoying the planning for next year's annual conference.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for all the folks that are working behind the scenes to make this the best conference ever, as we always say. So we're definitely very aggressive on our schedule here, but we do want to move to the next section and say, and take a plug for our job exchange and People's Choice. So this is an opportunity as a CASH member that you can post your RFP, RFQ, or job opening opportunities in your district or in your firm. Take a look at that if you happen to be a firm that's looking for available work, or you may be something that's looking for a job opportunity in some of our member districts. As a member, you can go onto the CASH website. You can access this, the RFP, RFQ section, and scroll to your heart's content to the opportunities that are available out there from our member districts. So please avail yourself of that opportunity. If you do have an opportunity that you would like to get out to a broader audience, to a much more diverse audience, please work with the CASH staff. There's an opportunity to submit your RFP, RFQ on the CASH website. But please avail yourself of that opportunity where you can really try to reach a larger audience. So that's available to you. So we'll move on to our next CASH Day is scheduled for Wednesday, July the 26th. Again, starting right at 11 o'clock. So please be there. Really enjoy or avail yourself of the opportunities for all of the really talented and hardworking individuals that work with CASH on a daily basis to ensure that we're representing your interest as to our best ability. So look forward to seeing everyone. We've reached the end of our agenda a little bit early, so I'm going to give you the gift of time here, but really look forward to continuing to engage with you. We continue the work of our organization and bringing it to you so that you have this information available to you. So I don't see any additional questions or comments being thrown out there in the chat. So with that, I want to thank everyone for being here today, taking time out of your day to hear some of the great work that's going on. And we look forward to seeing you at the next event. So thank you very much. Have a great day.